With 4 thunderous knockouts in 7 UFC fights and his most recent one coming against the GOAT of the division, Ilia Topuria has solidified himself as the scariest guy in the UFC featherweight division, who hits like the pocket-sized version of Francis Ngannou because
if he puts a hand on you like that, like, you're gonna go down.
Topuria has knocked out Damon Jackson, Jai Herbert, as well as the Imanari rolling Ryan Hall in his UFC career, with his most recent victim being Volkanovski, who was doing a great job with kicks in round 1 before being sent to the Shadow Realm with a thunderous right hand.
Like, I mean, that was a clean right hand, you know, and I think no matter who you are, like, you let one of those land on your chin while you're caught there, you're probably going down. Don't let him catch you. That's what that was, you know what I mean? So he caught me, so I won't take nothing away from him, you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit there and say it was this or it was that. I felt great, camp was great.
It's not often that you see fighters showering such high praise on their opponents after suffering a devastating KO loss that not only cost them a title, but also has people thinking that maybe they are washed up. But doesn't that prove Topuria is special? After all, Topuria reminds a GOAT of Conor McGregor.
I would say this, it's not very often when I see somebody fight and they do certain things and I'm like, ooh, yep, okay. Like, I think the last person who I felt that way about, to be honest, was Conor McGregor when he fought Diego Brandao. Like, the way he would control distance and how he would move and he would throw strikes and miss the counter and like just how he puts himself into fire. I see Ilia Topuria do that. Like, when he was fighting Josh Emmett and he fought another guy and he made the adjustments between the rounds, and his head movement, the X and Y axis. Like, I was like, okay, he knows what he's doing.
Now, Demetrious Johnson isn't alone. Before Topuria's fight against Alex Volkanovski, Daniel Cormier also felt that the Georgian Spanish star carried himself like Conor McGregor did back in his heyday.
This dude has updated his bio with another win, and he's now the UFC featherweight champion. This dude has stated he wants to fight in the same stadium, the Bernabeu, I think it's called. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. In where Real Madrid plays football in Spain. This dude has said to anyone that will listen how Alexander Volkanovski cannot compete with him. Most people under these circumstances want to release the pressure. Not this dude. You know, this reminds me of Conor about to fight Jose Aldo.
DC was right, wasn't he? Because after the fight, the former champ realized that his feelings about Topuria being as confident as McGregor were right. He went out there and absolutely overwhelmed the greatest featherweight of all time.
It felt like Volkanovski was trying to be safe in a fight against a guy that would never allow you to be safe. Topuria's confidence all week really was like mind-blowing. He was so filled with belief, or the belief that he was going to be a champ, that when I left, I said, wow, he's got a ton of charisma.
What DC and the rest of us are finding out now, Street Jesus Jorge Masvidal knew a few years before Topuria's crowning moment.
There's another guy up and coming, a good friend of mine, Ilia Topuria. Keep your eyes on him. That guy's gonna be a problem, man.
What class?
45. He just fought at 55 right now, but he's really a 45. He's pretty damn good, you know. Might be a future world champion there.
Like DJ, DC, and Masvidal, Dana White also had nice things to say about Topuria, who the UFC Supremo thinks has the potential to be the next big thing in the sport.
Never been in a main event like this, never felt the heat, the pressure. He couldn't have looked any better. Against a Volk who looked really good too. That fight was heating up, they were exchanging. Topuria looked solid, man, very solid.
Is it the perfect time for the UFC to go to Spain?
You had mentioned Spain before it was on the radar. Does that become an immediate priority?
I want to go to Spain too. We're going to Spain. Yeah.
You think his first title defense will be there, or is that too soon to make happen?
No. Yeah. If there's a venue available for us, we'll be there.
The question is, against who? Well, Volk is definitely entitled to his immediate rematch, but if not, there are a ton of intriguing matchups, but Topuria doesn't think anyone in his division is on his level.
Nobody. The division really sucks. We need a new challengers, you know. We need a couple of more fights in the division. So we'll see what's going to happen in the future, and hopefully we're going to have some clear challenger. But right now, there is nobody.
Well, after defeating Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega could be next in line. T-City has nothing but positive stuff to say about Ilia.
Props to Ilia, right? He won. That was an impressive, very, very like devastating KO he got.
Topuria is also being linked to a super fight against bantamweight counterpart Sean O'Malley if he manages to beat Marlon Vera at UFC 299. Now, as we all know, O'Malley is not someone who's easily impressed, but with Topuria, it's different.
When I think of like a scary opponent, what makes me go, whoo, that's Ilia. Ilia gives me that he could put your lights out and change life. That's a scary opponent. I had a feeling that Ilia was going to win, but I was like, you can't count Volk out. Volk's the man. So it's hard, you know, fighting's so crazy. It's hard to count anyone out, but crazy. Knocked out the featherweight GOAT in round 2. I knocked out Aljo, bantamweight GOAT in round 2.
Former bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling is also a potential fight for Topuria, given he takes out Calvin Kattar in his UFC featherweight debut at UFC 300. But despite his influx into the 145-pound division, Aljo expects Topuria to keep that belt for quite some time.
I think he could be champ for quite some time if he really wants to. That's a hard style to fight. Maybe they throw me in there. I'm looking at it like, I got my work cut out for me. Like, there's not an easy fight. Like, that's just being as honest as it is. Like, I know I can punch, but it's not how hard you can hit, man. It's like sometimes you got to be able to take that back. And I think he does a good job with his defense. Even the punches that are landing, he doesn't really get hit too cleanly.
Well, what about Max Holloway? Sure, he has a fight lined up against Justin Gaethje at UFC 300, but given his resume, he will always be a major stakeholder in the division, even if he loses his next fight. But can he beat Topuria?
Topuria tonight proved that he has got a very, very bright future. I mean, who's going to beat him at featherweight? I mean, the next man up more than likely would be Max Holloway, but he's fighting Justin Gaethje. Fighting Justin Gaethje at UFC 300 in a fight that I think a lot of people probably favoured Justin Gaethje to win. If he loses, would he be the next guy for Ilia Topuria? I'm not sure that would really work, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what they do at featherweight. Well done, Volkanovski, on an incredible career. And I'm talking like he's done, like he's sewn up, like he's finished. He's not. He's not. But maybe the reign is, certainly for the time being anyway. Ilia Topuria, I don't see anybody beating him anytime soon.
That's indeed a big statement from Bisping, but what are the things that make Topuria better than his opponents?
It's his hands. I think it's his speed. I think his defense. I think it's his motion. I think it's his footwork. I mean, I think that he's really a beautiful talent to watch, straight up pugilistically.
In simpler words, this is what Uncle Chael is trying to say.
Topuria is a nightmare.
Yes, he is.
He's a nightmare.
Yeah.
He's scary. What he did to Josh Emmett, I was like,
nasty.
Oh, man.
He's nasty.
What he did to Bryce Mitchell, like, oh, man.
He's so good. He's so skilled, and he's got great boxing, got great takedown defense.
Everything, everywhere.
If you still don't realize just how good Topuria is, listen to what Ben Funky Askren has to say about him.
I remember it was after the Bryce Mitchell fight, and I think we were both pretty high on Bryce Mitchell, and Topuria just beat him everywhere. And it was like, oh my God, this dude hits hard. He wrestles well. He grappled well. I think he finished him with an arm triangle, if I remember correctly. And we were just kind of blown away. And then he had the Emmett fight, and it set him up, and it's like, yeah, there's a distinct chance this guy can beat Alexander Volkanovski. I think he's going to be a big star.
Topuria is indeed a massive star back home in Spain, and he's constantly garnering attention with the way he dresses up and carries himself.
He has like that star quality about him. Hey, and dude will put on a suit with a turtleneck. Anytime you see a dude with a suit with a turtleneck, you know, like, dude gonna put on a suit with a turtleneck and like perfect hair, bro. Like, this dude has a star quality about him.
Yes.
That he can elevate. He's gained 600,000 Instagram followers in 2 days. 2 days.
That's flipping insane.
The Georgian Spanish Fireball's rising popularity can be judged by the fact that he presented his belt in front of 80,000 plus people in the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid before Real Madrid's football game against Sevilla. Now, for those who don't know much about soccer or football, Real Madrid is the greatest football club ever, and if Topuria was invited to present his UFC belt in their stadium, it's a massive moment for the new champ and the UFC. And not only that, El Matador also graced the cover page of Spain's biggest sports newspaper, Marca, after his win. So anyway, who should Ilia Topuria fight next? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel and check out another one here.